Florida State should want nothing short of an ACC championship. They haven't won one since the 2014 season. Mike Norvell has the Seminoles trending upward. Florida State won 10 games last year for the first time since the 2016 season. They're recruiting at a high level. They currently have a top 10 2024 class. Quarterback Jordan Travis is back. Among the 16 starters returning, 8 on offense and 8 on defense. That's the second most in the conference behind a Duke team that's returning 17 starters. If we put that into returning production, no one else returns more in the country than Florida State. 80% of their offensive production returns, and 94% of their defensive production returns. Week 1 is an early test versus LSU neutral site game in Orlando. Last year we had a thriller. The game ended on a block PAT for a Florida State win, but LSU isn't screwing around this year. The Tigers also bring back their experienced quarterback Jaden Daniels. 81% of their returning production is back offensively, 60% returns defensively. It's very possible, and I would probably say likely, that this will be a top 10 matchup. And it feels like both programs are in a similar spot. They're both recruiting well. They have experienced quarterbacks coming back that are more than capable of winning. Both teams are coming off 10-win seasons that ended with bowl wins. It'll be interesting to see who is able to continue to ride this momentum and start the season with a big win. For Florida State, even if they slip up early against the Tigers, it's only week 1, and they won't get tested again until they meet the Clemson Tigers in week 4 on the road. Clemson has won the last 7 games in this matchup, and it really hasn't been that close. Clemson's winning with an average score of 37-19. Clemson's also won 7 out of the last 8 ACC championships. So if you beat them early, not only are you putting yourself in the driver's seat, but you're also giving yourself the tiebreaker in that scenario. And I do think Clemson's going to be better this year. Cade Klubnik, starting quarterback, along with 7 starters returning on offense and 8 starters returning on defense. One thing to watch in this matchup, Klubnik and the Seminoles defensive secondary. Last year, the Seminoles finished 4th in the country in passing yards allowed, but they are replacing production. One piece they lost was Jamie Robinson, who had 183 tackles and 5 picks in the last 2 years, amongst other departures. But Norvell also utilized the transfer portal to account for this. He brought in a transfer from Virginia, Cypress, who was second-team All-ACC last year. Depth and experience is a point of strength for this position, with 3 redshirt seniors and 2 redshirt juniors for Florida State. Miami Hurricanes, November 11th on the road. Not a great first year for Mario Cristobal. 5-7, lost to Middle Tennessee State early on and got rolled by Florida State later in the year, 45-3. Tyler Van Dyke is returning at quarterback. I think it was just Cristobal's first season with the Hurricanes. You knew it wasn't going to be a smooth transition. Of course, you didn't think 5-7, but I do not think Miami's going to be that bad this year. They have a solid amount of returning production. It's a little light offensively with only 62%, but they do have 77% returning on defense. Florida State won by 42 points last year. I would be shocked if we see anything close to that type of blowout, so I would expect a closer game. The Seminoles end the regular season with the Florida Gators on the road in the Swamp. Always a tricky place to play. Florida will have a lot of new faces. They are outside the top 100 when it comes to returning production. It seems that Napier is still building his roster. According to On3, Florida pulled in 16 blue chip prospects for the 2023 recruiting class. Blue chip prospects means 4 or 5 stars. And then on the flip side of this, as we mentioned earlier, Florida State is number 1 in the country in returning production. Since this is the last regular season game of the year, I would expect the Gators to get settled in by week 13, so they'll have time to work some things out before this game. Then we're talking about a possible appearance in the ACC championship, and maybe even a sniff of the college football playoff.